Hello, my dear listeners, and welcome. I am really happy that you are here with me today. You are listening to Code Your English, a place where we learn English together in a simple, fun, and easy way. If you are someone who wants to speak English fluently and confidently, you're in the right place. This podcast is made for you. Today we have a very special topic: think in English and speak fluently. Yes, you heard that right. Learning how to think in English is one of the most powerful ways to become fluent. Why is this topic important? Let me ask you a few questions. Do you understand English well, but when it comes to speaking, you get stuck? Do you translate everything in your mind from your native language into English before you talk? Do you pause a lot while speaking because you are searching for the right words? Do you feel nervous or afraid of making mistakes when you try to speak? If your answer is yes to any of these questions, don't worry. You are not alone. Many English learners feel exactly the same way. The good news is this: you can train your brain to think in English. And when you do that, speaking becomes much easier. Imagine this for a moment. What if English words and sentences came to your mind naturally, without any translating? What if you could speak smoothly, with the words just flowing out of your mouth? What if you felt confident and comfortable speaking in English in school, at work, or even with strangers? Sounds wonderful, right? And guess what? It's possible. Today, I will show you practical, simple, and fun techniques to train your brain so that you can start thinking in English every single day. What we will cover in this episode. In today's lesson, we will talk about why thinking in English is important for fluency, the common problems that stop learners from thinking in English, step-by-step techniques to begin thinking in English, daily exercises to train your brain, how thinking in English helps you feel more fluent and confident. So, whether you are a student, a professional, or simply someone who wants to enjoy speaking English without stress, this episode will change the way you learn. Stay with me until the very end, because I have some special exercises that will help you start thinking in English immediately. You don't want to miss them. Let's begin. Why is thinking in English so important? Before we talk about the reasons, let's first understand something basic. What does thinking actually mean? Thinking is the process of using your mind to understand and to make sense of the world around you. We think all the time, every day, without even noticing it. For example, we think about what to eat. We think about what clothes to wear. We think about how to solve problems. We think about how to express our feelings. Thinking is natural. It happens automatically in our brains. It is invisible, but it is also very powerful. Thinking helps us make decisions, plan our actions, and communicate with others. Our thoughts can come in many forms. Sometimes we think in words. Sometimes we think in pictures or images. Sometimes we think in feelings. For example, when you try to remember something, maybe you see it in your mind like a picture. When you want to speak or write, you first form words in your head before saying them. So, thinking is not only about solving big or difficult problems. It also happens in very small things. Even remembering where you put your keys or deciding what to eat for dinner requires thinking. And that, my friends, is why learning to think in English is so important. When your mind automatically uses English words, images, and sentences, speaking will become faster, smoother, and much more natural. The way we think has a big impact on our lives. It shapes the choices we make, the actions we take, and even the way we communicate with other people. What does thinking in English mean? Thinking in English means that you use the English language inside your mind when you process thoughts, ideas, or decisions. Most learners do this. They first think in their native language. Then they translate those words into English. Finally, they speak. This slows everything down. When you train your brain to think directly in English, you skip the translation step. That means when you see something, hear something, or have an idea, your first reaction is in English, not in your native language. Here's a simple example. Imagine you see a tree. If your first thought is in Spanish, you might think árbol and then translate it into English as tree. But if you are thinking in English, your brain will immediately recognize it as tree without going through Spanish first. This small change makes a huge difference in your fluency. When you think in English, you can speak faster, express yourself more naturally, and feel more confident in conversations. Why do many learners struggle? Many English learners find speaking difficult because they translate every single word in their heads before talking. This makes the conversation slow, sometimes awkward, and it stops them from expressing their real thoughts smoothly. But once you train your brain to think in English, you remove that extra step. Speaking becomes faster, easier, and more natural. Why is thinking in English important? Thinking in English is not just a nice idea. It is actually one of the most powerful skills for improving fluency. Let's look at a few reasons why. 1. Thinking in English makes you speak faster. One of the biggest challenges learners face is speaking too slowly. Why? Because they are always translating. Let's imagine a real situation. You are at a coffee shop and the barista asks you, "What would you like to order?" If you think in your native language, your brain goes through these steps. Translate the question into your language. Think of your answer in your language. Translate your answer into English. Finally, speak your answer. That's 4 steps for one simple reply. No wonder it feels slow. But if you are thinking in English, your brain only has 3 steps. Understand the question in English. Form your answer in English. Speak your answer in English. It's quicker, easier, and more natural. By removing the translation step, you respond faster and sound more fluent. 2. Thinking in English helps you learn naturally. When you think directly in English, you are learning the language in a natural way. You are not only memorizing grammar rules or translating word by word. Instead, you start to feel the language just like native speakers do. Think about babies. How do they learn their first language? They listen to words every day. They connect those words with people, objects, and feelings. They start thinking in that language naturally, without ever translating. That's exactly how you can train your brain with English too. The more you think in English, the more natural it becomes. You can actually train your brain to think in English in the same way that children learn their first language. For example, let's take the word run. Instead of memorizing that run means correr in Spanish or courir in French, you connect the word run directly to the action of running. So when you hear the word run, you don't translate it into your native language, you immediately imagine or feel the action. This way, English becomes more natural and translation is no longer necessary. 3. Thinking in English helps you gain confidence. Many English learners feel nervous when they speak. They worry about making mistakes. They worry about not knowing the right words. This fear slows them down. But when you start thinking in English, everything changes. You don't have to stop and translate in your head. You don't have to feel stuck. Your brain gets used to forming complete sentences directly in English, which makes you feel much more confident in real conversations. Let's imagine an example. You're at a party and someone asks you, "Where are you from?" If you have been thinking in English, your answer comes quickly and easily. "I'm from Brazil." But if you have been thinking in your native language, your brain goes like this. Hear the question in English. Translate it into your language. Think of the answer in your language. Translate it back into English. Finally, speak. This extra process takes time and can make you feel nervous or unsure. Confidence comes from practice, and one of the best ways to build that practice is by thinking in English every single day. 4. Thinking in English improves your listening skills. Another big benefit is that it helps you understand spoken English better. When you think in English, your brain becomes more familiar with the rhythm, sounds, and expressions of the language. This makes it much easier to follow what native speakers are saying. Many learners struggle with listening because they hear English, then translate it into their language, and then try to understand. This process is too slow, especially if the speaker is talking fast. Here's an example. Imagine you are watching a movie and a character says, "Let's grab a bite." If you try to translate word by word, you might get confused. Grab a bite? What does that mean? But if you are already thinking in English, your brain understands it immediately as, "Let's go eat something." By thinking in English, you understand faster, respond quicker, and enjoy conversations or movies without struggling to keep up. 5. Thinking in English helps you sound more natural. Every language has its own way of building sentences. When you translate directly from your native language, your English may sound unnatural, even if the words are correct. For example, in some languages, people ask about age by saying, "How many years do you have?" But in English, we don't say it that way. We say, "How old are you?" If you're thinking in your native language, you might translate incorrectly. But if you are thinking in English, your brain automatically chooses the correct and natural form. This makes your speech smoother, more accurate, and more fluent. 6. Thinking in English makes it part of your daily life. If you want to become fluent in English, the language must become a natural part of your everyday life, not just something you study in class. Thinking in English is one of the easiest ways to stay connected to the language all the time. For example, when you wake up in the morning, instead of thinking in Spanish, "Tengo que levantarme," I have to get up, train yourself to think in English. I have to get up. When you see an object, don't name it in your native language. Say the word in English. For example, instead of thinking mesa in Spanish, say table. These small daily habits will make English feel natural, just like your first language. Over time, with regular practice, you will notice something amazing. Speaking English will start to feel effortless. Thinking in English is one of the most powerful tools you can use to reach fluency. It helps you speak faster, learn in a natural way, gain confidence, improve your listening skills, sound more natural, and make English a part of your daily life. The more you train your brain to think in English, the closer you get to speaking fluently. Now, in this next section, we are going to talk about something very important: the common challenges learners face when trying to think in English and how to overcome them. Common challenges of thinking in English and how to overcome them. For many learners, thinking in English feels like one of the biggest hurdles. It's not always easy to break the habit of using your native language first and then translating everything into English. This translation habit slows down conversations, makes speaking stressful, and can make your language learning journey feel frustrating. But don't worry, every problem has a solution. Let's explore the most common challenges and some practical ways to overcome them. Challenge 1. Translating from your native language. This is the #1 challenge for most learners. When you hear something in English, your brain quickly translates it into your native language. Then, when you want to respond, you translate your answer back into English. This translation loop takes too much time. It can also lead to mistakes because different languages don't always match word for word. Solution. The key is to practice immersing yourself in English. Instead of always relying on translations, you need to create direct connections between English words and their meanings. Here are a few ways to do that. Listen to English every day, podcasts, songs, TV shows, or YouTube videos. Read in English, books, articles, even short stories. Surround yourself with English words. Label items in your home in English or switch your phone language to English. When you expose yourself to English all the time, your brain starts to connect ideas directly to English words instead of your native language. Another powerful technique is to practice thinking in English during daily activities. For example, when you are walking, describe what you see in English. The sky is blue. The road is empty. I am walking fast. When you are cooking, think, I'm cutting vegetables. The water is boiling. When doing chores, narrate in your mind what you are doing in English. The more you practice this, the less you will depend on translation. Challenge 2. Limited vocabulary. Another big obstacle is not knowing enough words. If your vocabulary is very small, it's hard to think in English because you don't have the words to express your thoughts. This can make you pause too often, feel frustrated, and even lose confidence. Solution: build your vocabulary step by step, but do it in context. Don't just memorize isolated words from a list. Instead, learn words inside phrases or sentences so you know how they are used in real life. For example, instead of just learning the word beautiful, practice it like this. The sunset is beautiful. She wore a beautiful dress. What a beautiful day. This way, the word feels natural and you can use it easily when you are thinking or speaking. Here are a few more tips. Keep a vocabulary notebook where you write down new words and phrases. Use flashcard apps like Anki or Quizlet to review regularly. Try to use new words in your speaking and writing as soon as possible. The more you use a word, the faster it becomes a natural part of your thinking. Challenge 3. Fear of making mistakes. This is one of the biggest challenges for English learners. Many people hesitate to think or speak in English because they are afraid of making mistakes. They worry that others will laugh at them or that they will sound wrong. This fear can be very strong. It can almost paralyze you. As a result, you may avoid speaking English at all, or you might continue thinking only in your native language. But when this happens, you stay stuck, and it becomes harder to progress. Solution: the first thing you need to remember is that making mistakes is completely normal. Mistakes are not a sign of failure. They are part of the learning process. Think about it. When babies learn their first language, they make mistakes all the time. They mispronounce words, they use grammar incorrectly, and they say funny sentences. But do they stop learning? No. They keep trying, and with practice, they improve. The same applies to you. Here are some ways to overcome the fear of mistakes. Practice in a safe environment. Join English-speaking groups, find a practice partner, or work with a tutor who corrects you kindly. Use mistakes as learning tools. Each mistake shows you where to improve. Write it down, practice it, and next time you'll do better. Remember that even native speakers make mistakes. They forget words, they use slang incorrectly, or they mix up grammar sometimes. Nobody speaks perfectly all the time. Celebrate progress. Instead of focusing on your errors, look at how much you've improved. Even small steps count. When you shift your mindset and accept mistakes as part of growth, your fear will slowly disappear and your confidence will grow. Challenge 4. Overthinking and mental blocks. Another very common problem is overthinking. Sometimes, learners try too hard to form the perfect sentence. They focus too much on grammar rules or worry about saying things correctly. When this happens, the brain freezes and you get a mental block. You know what you want to say, but the words don't come out. This can be frustrating and stressful, and it makes thinking in English much harder. Solution: focus on fluency, not perfection. Your goal is to get your message across, not to speak like a grammar book. Here are some ways to reduce overthinking. Start simple. Use short, clear sentences. For example, instead of worrying about, "I should have gone to the market earlier," you can just say, "I went to the market late." Over time, your sentences will naturally get more complex. Relax and let go. Don't pressure yourself to sound perfect. In real life, communication is more important than perfect grammar. Correct later, not now. First, get your idea out in English. Later, you can go back, review, and improve. Think about how you speak your native language. You don't plan every word or grammar rule, you just speak. The more you treat English the same way, the less mental pressure you'll feel, and the easier it will become to think directly in English. Challenge 5. Not enough speaking practice. The final challenge we'll cover here is the lack of speaking practice. Thinking in English becomes much harder if you don't use English regularly in real conversations. Without practice, your brain struggles to recall words and phrases quickly. You may feel like you know English in your head but cannot use it when speaking. Solution: make speaking practice a daily habit. Here are some practical ways to do that. Find a language partner. Look for a friend, a classmate, or someone online who also wants to practice. Join English conversation clubs or groups. Many communities have them, both online and offline. Talk to yourself in English. Yes, it might feel strange at first, but it's powerful. Describe what you are doing, what you see, or what you are thinking. Example: I'm washing the dishes. The water is warm. After this, I'll make tea. Record yourself. Pick a topic, speak about it for 1 or 2 minutes, and then listen to your recording. This will help you notice mistakes and areas to improve. The more you practice speaking, the more natural it will feel, and the easier it will be to think directly in English, without hesitation. Challenge 6. Inconsistent practice. Another barrier to thinking in English is inconsistent practice. If you only practice once in a while, your brain won't have enough exposure to develop the habit of thinking in English. When there is no consistency, it's easy to slip back into your native language. This slows down your progress and makes English feel unnatural. Solution: consistency is the secret. You don't need hours of study every day, but you do need regular practice. Even 15 to 20 minutes daily can make a big difference. Here are some simple ways to stay consistent. Make English part of your daily routine. For example, think about your surroundings in English while walking to school or work. Use small pockets of time. Listen to an English podcast while cooking, read an English article during lunch, or write a short journal entry at night. Expose yourself daily. Movies, songs, YouTube videos, or even simple English posts on social media all count. The more often you use English, the more natural it will feel, and the faster your brain will start thinking directly in English. Challenge 7. Difficulty with complex thoughts. Once you get comfortable with basic English, you may face a new challenge: expressing complex ideas. It's one thing to say, "I'm hungry," or "the weather is nice." But it feels much harder to talk about abstract topics like emotions, opinions, or technical subjects. This happens because you may not yet have enough advanced vocabulary or grammar structures. The gap can make you feel stuck or frustrated. Solution: the key is to expand your language gradually. Challenge yourself with new materials. Read books, articles, or watch TED Talks on different topics. These resources expose you to advanced vocabulary and sentence structures. Practice using new words. Don't just learn them passively, try to use them in your own writing or speaking. Simplify first. If a thought feels too difficult, break it down into smaller, simpler sentences. With practice, you can build up to more complex expressions. Over time, you'll gain the vocabulary and confidence to think about deeper, more advanced topics in English. Wrapping up the challenges. So, we've now looked at 7 common challenges that make thinking in English difficult. Translating from your native language. Limited vocabulary. Fear of mistakes. Overthinking and mental blocks. Not enough speaking practice. Inconsistent practice. Difficulty with complex thoughts. The good news is that all of these challenges can be overcome. With consistent effort, patience, and the right strategies, you can train your brain to think directly in English. Remember, every mistake is actually a step forward. Every practice session, no matter how small, brings you closer to fluency. The more you integrate English into your daily life, the more natural and automatic it will feel. Step-by-step methods to think in English. Now that we've talked about the challenges, let's move into the practical methods. Thinking in English is one of the most powerful habits you can develop. It reduces the time your brain spends translating, it makes conversations smoother, and it boosts your confidence. But this doesn't happen overnight. You need to follow a series of gradual steps that train your brain little by little until English thinking becomes natural. In the next part, I'll guide you through practical, step-by-step exercises that you can start using today to build the habit of thinking directly in English. Step-by-step methods to think in English. Let's explore a variety of practical methods that can help you master this valuable skill. 1. Start with simple vocabulary. The first step in thinking in English is building a solid foundation of basic words. Begin with vocabulary that is directly connected to your daily life. Simple nouns, verbs, adjectives, and prepositions are enough to start. For example, if you're talking about your day, focus on words like eat, sleep, work, go, home, coffee, phone. Instead of thinking, I need to eat lunch in your native language and then translating, try forming the thought directly in English. I'm hungry. I want lunch. This small shift trains your brain to connect English words directly to ideas without translation. 2. Practice describing everyday situations. Another effective exercise is to narrate your surroundings in English. Look around and describe what's happening, even in simple sentences. If you're in the kitchen, you could think, I am in the kitchen. I see the stove. There are vegetables on the counter. I'm going to make lunch. You can do this anywhere, while walking, cooking, commuting, or cleaning. The goal isn't perfect grammar. It's to build the habit of forming thoughts in English. The more you describe daily life, the more natural English thinking will feel. 3. Use English for your inner dialogue. Your inner voice is a powerful tool. Throughout the day, you're constantly talking to yourself, making decisions, asking questions, or reflecting on situations. Start doing that in English. For example, what should I wear today? Should I go to the gym? I'm feeling frustrated. How can I solve this problem? At first, it may feel awkward or slow, but the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. And soon, this inner dialogue will spill over into your spoken conversations as well. 4. Engage in English immersion. Immersion is one of the fastest ways to train your brain to think in English. The more English you see, hear, and use, the less you'll rely on translation. Here are some ways to immerse yourself daily. Listen to English podcasts while commuting or exercising. Watch movies, TV shows, or YouTube videos in English. Read books, articles, or even social media posts in English. Interact with native speakers or language partners when possible. Immersion surrounds your brain with constant input, so English starts to feel less like studying and more like a natural environment. That's the first 4 steps. To make this section complete, I'd suggest adding a few more methods, such as 5. Think in keywords instead of full sentences. 6. Practice with what-if scenarios, imagination training. 7. Keep a daily English journal, thinking writing connection. 8. Use flash thoughts, quick, one-line thoughts in real time. 9. Shadow native speakers, copy rhythm plus thought patterns. 5. Focus on thinking in full sentences. Once you're comfortable with basic words and short phrases, it's time to move up to complete sentences. When learning English, it's tempting to think in single words like coffee or bus. But to speak naturally, you need to connect those words into full ideas. Instead of just thinking coffee, try, I need a cup of coffee before work. By practicing full sentences, your brain learns to process English in a conversational flow. Over time, sentence building will become automatic, helping you hold smooth, confident conversations without hesitation. 6. Challenge yourself with thought exercises. Another powerful technique is to give your brain small thinking challenges in English. Pick a random topic and think about it for a few minutes, completely in English. It could be your hobbies, your daily routine, or even your weekend plans. For example, on Saturday, I want to visit a museum. I will take the bus. I'm excited to see the new exhibition. Afterward, I'll have lunch with my friend Anna. At first, keep these exercises simple. As you progress, increase the difficulty by choosing complex topics, like explaining your opinion on news, books, or personal goals. This practice pushes your brain to think faster and deeper in English. 7. Practice speaking out loud. Thinking in English becomes even more effective when you speak your thoughts out loud. If you're alone, talk to yourself about what you're doing or what's on your mind. For example, the movie was great. I liked the plot and the characters. The ending really surprised me. Speaking out loud connects your inner thoughts to spoken words, making it easier to move from silent thinking to real conversations. It's like rehearsal, training your brain and mouth to work together in English. 8. Use visual cues to trigger English thoughts. Another great way to train your brain to think in English is by using visual reminders. Try to place little cues around your environment that make English come to mind. For example, you can put sticky notes on objects in your home with their English names. Write mirror and stick it on the mirror. Write door and place it on the door. You can also write a short list of common objects you see every day, like book, desk, lamp, chair, and phone. Each time you look at these items, your brain will begin to connect the object directly with the English word. This helps you skip translation and go straight to English thinking. Over time, you can make this exercise more advanced. Instead of writing just one word, write a short phrase or sentence. For example, instead of just writing refrigerator, write the refrigerator keeps food cold. Instead of writing window, write the window lets the sunlight in. By doing this, you're not only building word associations, you're also practicing sentence construction and vocabulary naturally in your daily life. 9. Be patient and stay consistent. This step is extremely important. Be patient with yourself. Thinking in English is not something you can master in a few days or even a few weeks. It's a skill that develops slowly, like building a muscle. If you expect to think fluently right away, you might feel discouraged. Instead, accept that it's a gradual process. The secret is consistency. Even practicing for just 10 to 15 minutes every day is far more effective than studying for 2 hours only once a week. Set aside a little time daily to use the methods we've talked about, whether it's labeling objects, practicing inner dialogue, or describing your surroundings. If you keep going steadily, you will notice that English starts to come to your mind more naturally. You'll catch yourself forming thoughts in English without even trying. That's the moment you'll know your practice is working. Remember, fluency is a journey, not a race. 10. Review and reflect regularly. Another powerful habit is to review your progress and reflect on how far you've come. Every week or two, pause and ask yourself some simple questions. Do I think in English more often than before? Do I feel more comfortable forming thoughts and sentences in English? Am I using less translation from my native language? These reflections will help you see the progress you might not notice day to day. They also help you identify areas where you need to improve. For example, maybe you realize you're good at thinking about daily routines in English, but still struggle when it comes to expressing emotions or opinions. Keeping track of your progress also gives you motivation. When you see how much you've improved, you'll feel encouraged to keep going. It reminds you that learning is possible and that you are getting closer to fluency step by step. Exercises to train your brain to think in English. Thinking in English is one of the most effective ways to become fluent. When you train your brain to think directly in English, you avoid the slow process of translating from your native language. This makes your conversations smoother, faster, and more natural. Of course, developing this habit takes time and effort, but with regular practice, it becomes easier and easier. To make the process smoother, here are some simple but powerful exercises you can try every day. Exercise 1. Label your environment. One of the easiest and most practical exercises is labeling the objects around you. Take sticky notes and write the English name of common things you see daily. For example, door, window, television, refrigerator, book. Stick these notes directly on the objects. Every time you look at them, you'll be reminded of the English word. This constant exposure strengthens the connection between the word and the object. Soon, you won't even think of the translation. You'll just recognize it in English instantly. As you progress, you can make this activity more advanced by writing short sentences instead of just single words. For example, instead of writing lamp, write the lamp gives me light when I read. Instead of writing mirror, write the mirror shows my reflection. This small change helps you not only remember vocabulary, but also practice sentence building and descriptive language. The best part is that this exercise blends naturally into your life. You don't need extra study time. You just live your daily life, and your environment becomes your English teacher. Exercise 2. Think in English for a set time every day. Another very effective exercise is to schedule time to think only in English. Pick a specific time in your day, maybe in the morning after you wake up, or at night before you go to sleep, and decide that, for a few minutes, you will think in English only. You can start very small, just 5 minutes. Once you get comfortable, increase it to 10 minutes, then 15, and eventually even longer. During this time, do not allow yourself to use your native language at all. Whatever comes into your mind, try to express it in English. For example, you can think about your plans for the day. I will go to class at 9 o'clock, then I will meet my friend for lunch. What you did yesterday, I studied English for 1 hour, then I watched a movie. Or even something very simple, like what you want to eat. I feel hungry. Maybe I will eat rice and chicken. To make this exercise stronger, say your thoughts out loud. If you're planning your day, speak to yourself. I will have breakfast at 8 o'clock. Then I will go to the gym. Speaking and thinking together makes your brain more used to expressing ideas smoothly in English. The more you practice this, the more natural it will feel. Over time, you will notice that your brain begins to choose English automatically without effort. Exercise 3. Describe everything around you. This exercise is simple, but very powerful. Look around you and describe what you see in English. If you're sitting in your room, talk about the objects. There is a desk in the corner. My laptop is on the desk. The window is open, and I can feel the fresh air. If you're outside, describe the scene. The park is full of people. The children are playing. The trees are tall and green. The sky is blue, and I can hear birds singing. Try to be as detailed as possible. Focus on colors, sizes, sounds, movements, anything you can notice. The important part is, do not switch to your native language. Even if you don't know the exact word, try to explain it in simple English. For example, if you forget the word bench, you can say the thing we sit on in the park. This way, you are still thinking in English and training your brain to find solutions. Over time, you will stop translating from your first language. Instead, your mind will directly connect English words with the world around you. This makes thinking in English faster and easier. Exercise 4. Have silent conversations in English. Another great habit is to practice conversations in your head. Imagine that you are talking to someone, maybe a friend, a teacher, or even a character from a movie. For example, in your mind you can start a simple dialogue. How are you? I'm fine, thank you. What about you? I'm a little tired, but I had a good day. You can play both sides of the conversation. Ask a question, then imagine the answer. Try to keep it as natural as possible, like a real conversation. The goal here is to train your brain to respond in English automatically. You don't want to stop and think, how do I say this in my language first? Instead, you want the English response to come naturally. This is a safe, pressure-free way to practice speaking without needing another person. The more you do it, the more confident you will feel when you have real conversations. Exercise 5. Keep a journal in English. Writing is one of the best ways to train your brain to think in English. A simple way to do this is by keeping a daily journal. Every day, take a few minutes to write about your life in English. It doesn't need to be long, just a few sentences is enough at first. For example, today I woke up early. I had bread and tea for breakfast. Then I studied English for 1 hour. As you feel more comfortable, try to write about your feelings, your goals, or even your opinions. This will help you learn to express more complex ideas in English. The key is, don't write in your native language first. Don't translate. If you don't know a word, try to explain it with other English words or quickly look it up in a dictionary. The important part is to stay in English while writing. The more you write, the more comfortable you will become with English sentence structures, vocabulary, and expressing yourself naturally. Exercise 6. Listen and mimic. This is a fun and powerful way to train your brain. Listen to English and copy it. Choose something you enjoy, like a podcast, a news clip, a YouTube video, or even a movie scene. Listen carefully to how native speakers talk, their pronunciation, rhythm, and intonation. Then, repeat what you hear. Try to say it exactly the same way, copying their voice like an actor. Don't just focus on words, pay attention to the tone, the pauses, and the natural flow of speech. At first, this might feel difficult. But with practice, you'll notice that your mouth, your ears, and your brain all begin to sync with English. This not only improves your pronunciation, but also makes it easier to think in English, because you're training your brain to recognize and produce natural speech patterns. Exercise 7. Use English dictionaries. Another powerful habit is to use in English English dictionary instead of a bilingual one. When you learn a new word, don't immediately translate it into your native language. Instead, look it up in English. Read the definition, check the example sentences, and try to understand the meaning by using context. For example, if you see the word generous, you might find a definition like, someone who likes to give or share more than expected. From this, you already get the idea without needing your first language. This process forces your brain to stay in English. You are learning new words in English, explained by English, which helps you think about their meanings directly. Over time, this will reduce your need for translation and help you become more fluent. Exercise 8. Watch movies and TV shows without subtitles. Watching English movies and TV shows is fun and educational at the same time. To train your brain, try watching without subtitles. At first, this may feel difficult. You might not understand every word, but that's okay. The goal is not perfection, but exposure. Listen carefully to the tone, the emotions, and the situation. Very often, you can guess the meaning even if you don't understand every word. As you watch, try to notice new phrases, idioms, or expressions. After the movie, challenge yourself to summarize the story in English. You can write a short summary in your journal or just say it out loud. This exercise trains your brain to process English in real time, just like native speakers do. Little by little, your understanding will improve and your thinking will become faster and more natural. Exercise 9. Think in English during daily tasks. This exercise is about making English a natural part of your everyday life. As you go about your normal activities, cooking, cleaning, walking, shopping, talk to yourself in English in your mind. For example, if you are cooking, say, "Now I'm washing the rice. Next, I will boil the water. After that, I will fry the vegetables." If you're walking to work, you might think, "The weather is hot today. I see many cars on the street. I will arrive in 10 minutes." By doing this, you are practicing English in real situations, using real vocabulary. The more you practice, the more automatic it becomes. Soon, you will notice that you are thinking in English without even trying. Exercise 10. Practice speaking out loud. The final exercise is simple but very important. Speak out loud in English, even if you are alone. Whenever you have time, narrate your thoughts. For example, if you're at home, say, "I'm feeling a little tired. I will make some tea. After that, I will read my book." Speaking out loud forces your brain to think quickly in English. You don't have time to translate, your mouth and mind must work together. Always try to speak in full sentences instead of just single words. This will help you improve fluency, build confidence, and strengthen the habit of forming thoughts directly in English. The more you speak, the easier it becomes. Over time, you'll notice that you can express yourself more naturally and smoothly, without hesitation. Training your brain to think in English. Thinking in English is not something that happens overnight. It's a gradual process that requires patience, effort, and daily practice. Every time you try to think in English, whether by labeling objects, speaking out loud, or describing your daily activities, you are training your brain to make stronger and faster connections between ideas and the language. The good news is that this process really works. With consistent practice, you will notice clear improvements, not only in the way you think, but also in how naturally you speak. Over time, English will start to feel less like a foreign language and more like a natural part of your mind. The key is immersion. The more you surround yourself with English, the easier it becomes. By reading, listening, speaking, and practicing every day, you are creating an environment where your brain can adapt. These exercises are not just about learning new words. They are about building the habit of using English to think, to express yourself, and to understand the world around you. This consistent practice will lead to a more fluid, confident, and automatic approach to English. You'll notice that you hesitate less, your sentences sound more natural, and your overall communication improves. How thinking in English leads to fluency. Fluency is not only about memorizing vocabulary or mastering grammar rules. Those things are important, but real fluency goes deeper. Fluency is about making English a natural part of your thought process. When you can think directly in English, you don't need to translate every word from your native language. Instead, ideas flow smoothly into English sentences. This makes your conversations quicker, clearer, and more natural. Thinking in English is one of the most effective steps you can take toward fluency. It improves not only your speaking, but also your listening, writing, and even reading skills. That's because the more you train your brain to use English directly, the more automatic and comfortable the language becomes. The connection between thinking and fluency. When you speak or write, you need to form sentences quickly. If your brain is busy translating each word from your native language, the process becomes slow and unnatural. That's why many learners hesitate or feel nervous when speaking. Fluency means speed and smoothness. It means being able to listen, understand, and respond without long pauses. When you think directly in English, your brain skips the step of translation and instead accesses the English words and grammar instantly. This shift is powerful. It changes the way your brain processes English. You stop treating it as something foreign and start using it as a natural communication tool. This makes it easier to build sentences without hesitation, understand idioms and common phrases, use grammar and tenses correctly in real time, express yourself more clearly and confidently. Benefits of thinking in English. 1. Quicker responses in conversation. One of the first and biggest benefits you'll notice is speed. When you think in English, you can answer questions faster and keep up with conversations more easily. If you are always translating, you risk falling behind, missing parts of the conversation, or giving slow answers. But when you think directly in English, you can process the question and respond immediately. This helps you stay connected to the flow of ideas and makes conversations feel smoother and more natural. This is especially important in real-life situations, such as job interviews, meetings, classes, or casual talks with friends, where fast responses matter. Benefits of thinking in English. 1. Quicker response times. One of the first improvements you'll notice is speed. When you think directly in English, you can answer questions faster and keep up with conversations more easily. Instead of pausing to translate, your brain processes the question and formulates a response immediately. This keeps the conversation flowing and makes your speech sound more natural. 2. Better pronunciation and intonation. Thinking in English helps you absorb the rhythm and melody of the language. You start to internalize stress patterns, sentence flow, and natural pronunciation, things that are often lost when you rely on translation. Over time, your speech becomes smoother, clearer, and more authentic, sounding less like a word-for-word translation and more like true communication. 3. Improved vocabulary and idiomatic use. When you think in English, vocabulary stops being just a list of words. Instead, you begin to notice which words naturally fit different situations. This allows you to use richer, more precise vocabulary in daily life. You'll also gain a better understanding of idioms and phrasal verbs, expressions that don't always make sense when translated literally. By processing them in English, you grasp their meaning in context and use them more confidently. 4. Reduced mental stress. Constant translation is mentally draining. It takes extra effort and often slows you down in conversation. But when you think directly in English, the process becomes effortless. You no longer waste energy searching for the right translation. You simply express yourself. This reduces anxiety, helps you stay relaxed, and boosts your confidence when speaking. 5. Strengthened grammar skills. Grammar isn't something you just memorize, it's something you use. By thinking in English, you naturally practice grammar every time you form a sentence. Whether it's verb tenses, articles, or prepositions, your brain starts to apply the rules automatically in real situations. This ongoing practice makes grammar feel natural, so you don't have to pause and think about rules while speaking or writing. 6. Enhanced listening skills. Finally, thinking in English improves your ability to understand spoken English. Since you're no longer translating in your head, you can process language the same way native speakers do, directly and instantly. This makes it much easier to follow conversations, movies, podcasts, or news broadcasts. Instead of getting stuck on individual words, your brain focuses on meaning, context, and flow. How to start thinking in English. Transitioning from thinking in your native language to thinking in English takes time, but with steady practice, it will become second nature. Here are some practical strategies to help you build this habit. 1. Label your environment. Place English labels on everyday objects around your home or workplace, like door, fridge, mirror, or desk. Each time you see these words, your brain automatically makes the connection between the object and its English name. This creates small but powerful reminders to think in English during daily life. 2. Practice inner dialogue in English. Pay attention to the thoughts in your head. Instead of using your native language, challenge yourself to think in English. Start small. Describe what you see, what you feel, or what you're doing. For example, I'm walking to the store to buy groceries. I hope they have apples today. By turning your inner monologue into English, you reinforce the habit of processing thoughts directly in the language. 3. Immerse yourself in English. Surround yourself with as much English as possible. Listen to podcasts, watch movies or shows, read books, and follow English-speaking content online. The more exposure you get, the more natural English will feel. Take it a step further by speaking with native speakers or other learners through conversation clubs, language exchange programs, or online communities. Real conversations are the best training for thinking without translating. 4. Start small, then build up. Don't pressure yourself to think in English about everything at once. Begin with simple topics, your daily routine, food preferences, or basic tasks. As it gets easier, challenge yourself with bigger topics, your career goals, future plans, or abstract ideas. This gradual approach helps you build confidence while avoiding overwhelm. Why it matters. Thinking in English is one of the most powerful ways to improve fluency. It helps you respond faster, speak more naturally, and understand the language on a deeper level. By training your brain to process English directly, you'll find communication becomes smoother, more confident, and more intuitive. A final word of encouragement. Learning to think in English isn't just about memorizing vocabulary or drilling grammar. It's about changing the way your mind approaches the language. It's about making English a natural part of your daily life. If you feel nervous or unsure about whether you can really achieve fluency, remember this. Every fluent English speaker once started where you are now. Progress may feel slow at times, but every small step counts. With patience, practice, and persistence, you can absolutely train your mind to think and speak confidently in English. Staying motivated on your fluency journey. Fluency is not something that happens overnight, but with consistent effort and patience, it is absolutely possible. You may have heard the saying, Rome wasn't built in a day. The same is true for learning any new skill, including English. There will be times when you feel like your progress is slow, but don't give up. Every single day you spend thinking and speaking in English brings you closer to the fluent speaker you want to be. Small improvements may not feel like much in the moment, but they add up to big results over time. Here are some encouraging reminders to keep you motivated as you practice. 1. You're not alone. Every learner feels frustrated or discouraged at times. Even the most fluent speakers once struggled. Mistakes are not failures, they're essential stepping stones. Each mistake you make and correct brings you one step closer to fluency. Remember, fluency does not mean perfection. It means being able to communicate clearly and confidently, even if it isn't flawless. 2. Your effort is building a strong foundation. Fluency grows from consistent, daily practice. The more you think in English, the more natural it becomes. You might not notice progress right away because it often happens gradually. But every sentence you form, every word you understand, every thought you express in English strengthens your foundation. Over time, this effort will make speaking feel second nature. 3. Growth comes from challenge. It can feel uncomfortable to think in English at first, especially if you're not used to it. But real growth happens outside your comfort zone. Push yourself a little each day. Describe your morning in English, reflect on your goals in English, or think through a problem in English. The more you challenge yourself, the faster you'll improve, and soon, fluency will feel effortless. 4. Be patient with yourself. Patience is one of the most important parts of your journey. You may feel frustrated when your fluency doesn't match your expectations, but that's okay. You're not competing with anyone else. This is your personal path, and every day you are making progress. Patience allows your learning to grow naturally and steadily. 5. Focus on progress, not perfection. You don't need to be perfect to be fluent. Fluency is a journey, not a destination. Celebrate the small wins. When you can hold a conversation without translating, when you understand a podcast without subtitles, when you express your ideas more easily than before. These moments are proof that you're moving forward. Stay motivated and keep going. When you speak more confidently than before, even in small ways, that is a clear sign of progress. Celebrate every step forward, no matter how small it may seem. Each new word you use, each sentence you form, and each thought you express in English is a step closer to fluency. 1. Imagine your future self. Take a moment to picture yourself in the future. You are having a conversation in English, and it feels natural. The words come to you easily. You express yourself clearly and confidently. You understand everything being said to you and can respond without hesitation. This is the goal you are working toward. Every day you practice, every effort you make, brings you closer to becoming that confident English speaker. Thinking in English is the path that will get you there. 2. Keep your goals in mind. Fluency in English can open many doors for you. Imagine the opportunities that await, traveling to new countries, working in international companies, connecting with people from different cultures, or feeling confident in any social situation. English is not just a language, it's a bridge to new experiences and possibilities. Every time you practice, you're building a foundation for your future success. 3. Enjoy the process. Learning a language is not only about hard work, it can be fun too. Find ways to make practicing English enjoyable. Watch movies, read books, listen to podcasts, or talk with friends in English. When learning is fun, it feels less like a task and more like an exciting journey. The more you enjoy it, the easier it is to keep going, even when it feels challenging. 4. Be patient and kind to yourself. Fluency takes time. Don't rush. Don't compare yourself to others. Mistakes are part of the learning process. They show that you are trying and growing. Every effort you make, no matter how small, is helping you get closer to speaking English naturally. Look at how far you've come already. Celebrate your progress. 5. Keep practicing every day. Consistency is key. Keep thinking in English, speaking in English, and exposing yourself to the language every day. Even a few minutes of practice can make a difference. Over time, these small efforts will add up, and English will start to feel like a natural part of your life. 6. You are on the right path. Remember, fluency is a journey, not a destination. You are doing amazing and you are improving every day. Keep practicing, stay motivated, and trust yourself. Every step forward, every sentence you speak, and every thought you form in English brings you closer to your goal. Fluency is within your reach. Keep going. Keep learning. Keep thinking in English, and one day, speaking English confidently will feel completely natural.